Track day tomorrow, let's go. Safety first. I remember when I first started this channel, and one of the first things that we did to this car was change the oil, and it was like such a big hassle, and we spilled it everywhere. So today I'm just doing some quick prep for the track day that we have going on tomorrow. For those of you guys that don't follow the channel, tomorrow we're going to the Fontana Auto Club Speedway. We're going to do some quick high performance track day experiences and see if we can improve our times from the last time that we were there. The last time that we were there was the time that we spun out on the track.
Watch your apex. Bring it out.
Oh shit. Oh shit. That might help you remember which time I'm talking about. But this track is one of my favorite tracks, especially because when you reach the IndyCar circle, there's one part that last time I was cornering at 130. Like, let me say that again. Cornering at 130 miles per hour, and it was an insane experience. Now the car has a little bit more horsepower and a better tune, so we might even be able to corner at a faster speed than that. So I'm super excited for tomorrow. Make sure you guys stay tuned for that next video. But for this video, I thought that while I was doing this quick maintenance, I would talk to you guys about my opinion on the IRP short shifter. Now, when I was going to buy this short shifter, there weren't a lot of reviews of it online, which kind of left me to take a shot in the dark when buying it. But now that I've used it for a while and I've gone racing with it, I can give you guys my updated and educated opinion on this short shifter. If you remember, I installed the short shifter when we installed the new transmission on this car. It was just a thing that I thought while I was down there I might as well do. And when I first started driving with it, I loved it. And don't get me wrong, I do still love the short shifter, but there's a lot of problems that I have with it, which I want to tell you guys so you guys know before you buy the short shifter, because I didn't have that luxury. So the first time that I ran into issues with the short shifter was when I went racing at Bud and Willow. And for those of you who remember, how I described it was when you first started shifting with the shifter, it had very notchy shifts. Like when you go from first to second gear, you knew which gear you were in. It was like super easy and it was a super nice shifter. But after a while of racing, it started to feel more like I was shifting through soup. Like I could not find exactly where the gear was. It was just much less notchy. And after a while, it got really bad. Like there was no notches for the gears. And so I looked down and I grabbed the base of the shifter and I shook it, and the base of the shifter, which attaches it to the car, had completely fallen loose. And once I pulled off of the track, I found out that the 4 screws that hold it into the base, 3 of them had fallen out. Now, of course, I would attribute this to user error. I think that it was my fault that the screws fell out, and I'm not really gonna blame IRP for this, but let me explain why I still think it's a bit their fault. Pretty much, I should have used Loctite when I put those screws in to make sure that when I was racing like that, the screws would not become loose and fall. Of course, I think that that's a given, and I think it's something that I'm definitely gonna learn from and not make that mistake again. But this shifter costs about $520. Let me say that one more time. $520 for a short shifter. In all fairness, it has a permanent shift knob, so all the money that you'd spend on a shift knob, you're also investing into this, so that's a little bit of justification for the price, and that was my justification for the price. But nonetheless, for $520, I expect the thing to work properly. And so that being said, one of the steps of it working properly is having the install go relatively smoothly. And this short shifter did not come with Loctite. I've had a couple parts come and those parts came with Loctite, which was a super nice thing that the company did just to make sure that you installed the part right and didn't run into these issues. But this short shifter did not come with Loctite. And not only that, it also didn't come with instructions. So nowhere were there instructions to tell you to add Loctite onto the shifter. So as much as I blame myself for not putting Loctite on, I think a part of the blame also goes to the company for not giving me a heads up that those parts could come loose. Now, another issue with those specific screws. If you, in a second, I'm going to show you guys which screws I'm talking about so you know and have a better idea of what I'm talking about, but for the sake of explanation, let me pretend these pillows represent the transmission tunnel's base and the base of the shift knob. So when you're screwing in screws, you want these two parts to go like that and just stay together tight, right? And the way that you do that is you get the screws to screw in, and once the screws screw in, they hold it tight like this. And obviously once I didn't add Loctite, over time it kind of fell apart and went like this. When you screw in the screws that hold the transmission tunnel's base to the actual shifter, and you screw them in all the way, there's still a little bit of room between the transmission tunnel's base and the base of the shift knob. And that's not supposed to happen. That's a huge fault on the part of the IRP company. Because the thing is, when you're shifting, you need this to be solid in order to make it so that the transmission has a solid base to pivot from. I don't know if that makes much sense, but just follow along with me. So when I screwed in the screws completely while installing it, there was still a bit of room between here, which made it so that when I would go and try to shift, this would not hold it in place and the pivoting action that the shifter does would not function properly. We needed to go find washers on our own and put the washers in so that when the washers are there, now it's held together properly. If that explanation didn't make sense to anyone, pretty much long story short, that short shifter should have come with washers and it didn't. And the fact that it didn't come with those washers meant that it physically could not have been installed properly. You needed to go out and find those washers or else you physically could not install this shifter properly. And for $520, I think that a shifter should have all the necessary parts to install it. And also a good set of instructions, which this had none of. But that's not even the worst part of this short shifter. If you can get past the fact that it didn't come with good instructions and tell you to put Loctite on it, and it didn't come with these washers and you have to go find it, this is something that you really cannot get over unless the car is a dedicated track car like mine. At the top of the shifter, one of the coolest parts of it is the fact that it has a button, and that button is the reverse lockout. So instead of normally in the FRS you grab through the bottom and lift it and that allows you to go into reverse, this has a button that you press from the top and then you can go into reverse. And it's a really cool feature. It's almost like a gimmick, like it really has no purpose, but it looks cool. And that's kind of a selling point for some people, the fact that it looks so cool. That shifter, the button at the top of the shifter rattles. It rattles a lot, especially in really high RPMs. There's just something inside of it that makes it not sit properly, and it just is that like all day. And if you look on the website when you're buying this, I bought this from FT86 Speed Factory. Love those people, not trying to blame them. The shifter does come with a Rattle Fix Kit. And the Rattle Fix Kit apparently solves other rattle issues that this shifter has, but not the main issue. So this Rattle Shift Kit comes with a piece that goes inside the shifter. Like the shifter is kind of hollow, and there's a piece that goes in between them to hold it so that apparently the hollow part does not allow access to rattling and shaking. And also it comes with a rubber mat that goes in between the car and the shifter so that there's no rattling with the metal on metal. But that doesn't solve the biggest rattle, which is the one that comes from the button. And I honestly cannot figure out how you could solve that issue. That's a mechanical issue inside the shifter. Because it's my dedicated track car, I don't really care. When I'm driving this car, I'm like putting a lot of effort into focusing on racing. I'm not paying attention to the rattle. I'm not listening to music. I'm not really looking for comfort. But anyone who daily drives this car, that rattle is gonna get super annoying super fast. And you may be thinking that, oh, then maybe this is like your shifter has this specific rattle and it's just you, so when I buy mine, it's not gonna have that rattle. But I've read in a lot of the comments because FT86 Speed Factory posted a video of their Rattle Fix Kit, and in the comments, a lot of people commented saying, I still have a rattle, I still have a rattle, I still have a rattle. So long story short, save yourself $500, $520 and don't buy this short shifter unless it is a dedicated track car like this. The reason to buy it is exactly what it's meant for. When you're driving, the shifter, now that it's higher, is a lot closer to your hand, so you can shift much quicker. The shifts are much notchier. They are, like, don't get me wrong. The shifts feel great. The fact that it's so close to the steering wheel feels great, but the rattle and the pain to install it makes it really not worth it at the end of the day, unless it's a dedicated track car like this. So if it's a dedicated track car, then you can consider it, but you're gonna lose the quietness of your cabin if you have any left. But if this is your daily driver, definitely do not buy the IRP short shifter. I hate to say it, I hate to regret a part that I bought, but that's just where we are. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you guys leave a like, and then make sure you guys subscribe. Follow me on Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter. I'll see you guys next time.